But we have one very big power over China, and that's tariffs. And they don't want them, and I'd rather not have to use it, but it's a tremendous power over China.
Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel and welcome back to our special report on the escalating global trade tensions. Over the past few days, the economic battlefield has intensified with the United States, Canada, Mexico and China all taking major steps that could reshape global trade as we know it. From aggressive tariffs to retaliatory measures, the stakes are higher than ever. So what exactly happened and how are world leaders, businesses and ordinary people reacting? Let's break it all down.
But we have one very big power over China, and that's tariffs. And they don't want them, and I'd rather not have to use it, but it's a tremendous power over China.
中美经贸合作是互利共赢的，我们认为，如果双方有分歧和摩擦，应当通过对话和协商来解决。贸易战、关税战没有赢家，不符合任何一方的利益，也不利于世界。
Those 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada are off, at least for now. But the 10% additional tariff on Chinese goods is still on, and that fallout may still impact your wallet. So first, what's happening? President Trump made a short-term deal with both Mexico and Canada today, just hours before those huge tariffs were set to take effect. But before these deals were announced this morning, when the threats of retaliatory tariffs from both Canada and Mexico on all kinds of American goods were still on the line, the U.S. stock market tanked. At one point, it was down more than 600 points. Obviously, traders hate this tariff plan, and even the conservative Wall Street Journal called it the dumbest trade war in history. Now, we know President Trump watches the market very carefully, and whether that market nosedive had anything to do with him sort of backing off that tariff threat and wanting to quickly make these deals with Canada and Mexico, we just don't know. But here's what we do know about the deal that was just struck with Canada and the deal that was struck with Mexico earlier this morning. With both of these deals, you have to understand the tariff threat is not gone. It's just postponed 30 days. And according to Canada's Prime Minister, their $1.3 billion border plan to reinforce the U.S.-Canadian border with technology and equipment and personnel to stop the flow of fentanyl with 10,000 frontline personnel will continue. Canada has also agreed to appoint a fentanyl czar and launch a Canada-U.S. joint strike force to combat organized crime, fentanyl, and money laundering. Canada will also back a new $200 million intelligence directive to target organized crime and fentanyl within Canada. President Trump today said he wanted something else from Canada.
What I'd like to see, Canada become our 51st state. We give them protection. We don't need them for the cars. We don't need them for lumber. We don't need them for anything. We don't need them for energy. We have more energy than they do. We don't need them for energy. As a state, it's different. As a state, it's much different. And there are no tariffs. So I'd love to see that.
Obviously, he did not get that concession from Canada today, but the Canadian Prime Minister did say that the U.S. and Canada will continue to work together on border issues over these next 30 days to avoid this tariff war from sparking up again. As for Mexico, President Trump had a conversation with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum this morning to pause the 25% tariffs for 1 month.
We had a great talk with Mexico, and we had President Sheinbaum is a woman. I like her very much. We've had good relationships, but we have to stop fentanyl from coming in, whether I like somebody or not, and we have to stop the illegal aliens. And they've agreed to put in 10,000 soldiers permanently, like forever, 10,000 soldiers at their side of the border and stop fentanyl and illegal aliens from coming into our country. They have a big incentive to do. Other than that, we've agreed to talk and consider various other things. We haven't agreed on tariffs yet, and maybe we will, maybe we won't.
And what he left out of that was the United States also conceded something in this deal with Mexico. According to President Sheinbaum, the two reached a series of agreements, and she said the United States is also committed to working to prevent the trafficking of high-powered weapons to Mexico. Now, during his press conference in the Oval Office, President Trump said he and President Sheinbaum and delegations from both the U.S. and Mexico will continue to negotiate issues along the border for these next 30 days to keep these tariffs at bay. Now, while the tariffs on Mexico and Canada have been paused, the additional 10% tariff on Chinese goods is still on, at least for right now. It will take effect at midnight Eastern tonight. That tariff will obviously impact your wallet if you are buying any kind of product from any American company that imports that product originally from China. That could be all kinds of things: electronics, iPhones, clothing, toys, laptops, you name it. Now, you're probably wondering why President Trump did this in the first place. Well, he said today because that tariff threat strategy worked so well with Colombia a few weeks ago, he wanted to use it with Mexico, Canada, and China. And he said today that the European Union is next.
With Colombia, it was going to be a disaster. In 1 hour, everything was settled. You know why? Tariffs. Tariffs. Without tariffs, they wouldn't have been the same way. They would not have treated me the way they treated me, which was extremely nicely. And I don't want to use countries, I don't want to use names, but tariffs are very powerful, both economically and in getting everything else you want. Tariffs for us, nobody can compete with us because we're the pot of gold.
Well, looks like now we're witnessing the trade war between countries. And now China responded to Trump's tariffs, and it will introduce counter tariff for USA. Additionally, China will be taking US to the court, international court. And interesting, today in 1913, the 16th Amendment to United States Constitution was ratified, authorizing federal government to impose and collect income tax. Maybe we will be witnessing this year, if Trump is successful with his plan, this income tax will be removed.
So not only did China just kick our ass with the release of the AI technology, DeepSeek, right? But now they've responded to Trump's tariffs. And what have they done? They've reduced the amount of American imports into China by $690 billion. That's right, $690 billion. And now they're just simply sourcing those imports from other countries, most notably BRICS countries. You might want to look that up if you don't know what it is, right? Like, this is not going to end well, man. He's thrown 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, and he's constantly on the news saying, we don't need anything from them. We don't need anything from them. Really? Do you have any idea the amount of stuff we get from Canada, the amount of stuff we get from Mexico, the amount of stuff we get from China, and how long it would take us to establish production warehouses in the United States to get that same stuff? Do you have any idea of that? No, you fucking don't, because you're stupid. Dude, these countries are going to decimate America under Trump. So you can keep calling him daddy all you want. If that makes you feel good, Daddy Trump, right? But he's going to continue to ruin America, and he's going to do it with your permission because you're stupid.
All right, so this is crazy. So President Donald Trump and the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, have already struck a deal to end the tariff war between Canada and the United States. I mean, the 180 that Justin Trudeau has had in the past 24 hours is absolutely insane. I mean, he was dealt a hand, he went all in, bluffed, Trump called the bluff, and now he already folded. It is actually unbelievable. So Justin Trudeau just released an official statement, and the change of tone from his speech 24 hours ago is insane. It's like someone hacked his account. So he said, I just had a good call with President Trump. Canada is implementing our $1.3 billion border plan, reinforcing the border with new choppers, technology, and personnel, enhanced coordination with our American partners, and they'll be deploying nearly 10,000 frontline personnel to be protecting the border. He also signed a new intelligence directive to fight organized crime and is backing it with $200 million. Now, just like today's deal with Mexico, this is a 30-day deal while they figure out a long-term solution, so the tariffs would be halted for the next 30 days. Now, whether you like him or love him, this is an absolute masterclass in deal-making right now by President Trump. I mean, just this morning, we had Chuck Schumer at a podium holding an avocado and a Corona bottle, telling Americans to get ready to feel this tariff war in your wallets. And already we have a deal with Mexico. We have a deal with Canada. We have 10,000 troops going to the border of Canada. We have 10,000 troops going to the border of Mexico. I think what we're seeing right now is a President Trump who is not running for re-election because he can't. So he's just doing whatever he feels is necessary.
Good morning, guys. As we mentioned yesterday, Trump has implemented tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China, 25% for Canada and Mexico, and a 10% tariff on China. All these countries have not taken this lightly, and they've all responded with retaliation to these tariffs.
Now, this was expected due to being part of the negotiation process and will likely be brought down, just as the China tariffs were. It was originally 25, and the day before they were signed into order, it was dropped 15%. That's just how business works. I mean, I've done it myself. You start high, you work low. Very likely the case here.
Then Trump this morning on Truth Social just made a post. It's quite a long one. You'll have to check it out. He basically mentions that he will get rid of the tariffs if these companies and countries choose to do business in the United States, therefore giving us more independence as Americans, not relying on all these imports from other countries, and rather incentivizing success and innovation in our country rather than abroad.
And as I've said previously, this could also bring upon the abolishing of the income tax.
Donald Trump won on the economy and immigration. That's what we keep saying. Those were the two leading things. We talk so much about, well, what happened? Why aren't the price of eggs getting better? This was the other part he promised, which was tariffs. So in some ways, sometimes you get what you voted for, which is the people that voted for him. He told us this was going to happen. And he won anyone making under $50,000. He won in spades. So people with the least, the people that will feel this the most. Sonny, you speak of your $5, now $10 cup of metaphorical coffee.
What about the eggs?
Well, the eggs. But my point here is that
eggs are so
the people,
expensive, we're going to have to color potatoes.
Everyone is going to feel this. But there's a lot of people, I would argue, at this table who are going to feel it less.
Yeah. Yes.
The people that put him into office and voted for this were warned in bold letters this was what he was going to do, and he's doing it.
This is for my American friends so you guys can understand how the tariffs are actually going to hurt you. I had my head of logistics for one of my companies look into something for me because there was a provision that if you used to send a product over from Canada to the US, you'd use Canada Post, you could get it tax-free. So you wouldn't have to pay the tariff. Not us, you, because you made the purchase from a different country. Now, this is going to affect everything on Alibaba, JD.com, Shein, Temu, AliExpress, you name it. Additional tariffs imposed by Donald Trump on China, Canada, and Mexico reportedly include a provision that will eliminate the rule that allows small packages to enter the U.S. without paying a tariff. The rule exemption that applies to packages worth less than $800 is commonly used by Chinese e-commerce retailers to sell goods at lower prices by shipping them directly to consumers into the US. This is from Bloomberg. Trump's putting an end to the exemption, and it could affect all those retailers that I just mentioned. Temu, for example, has benefited from this exemption by offering low prices to shoppers who were willing to wait for the goods to be delivered. Because that doesn't exist anymore, they aren't paying the tariffs. You are. So all those cheap products you used to get from Temu, JD.com, Shein, all the dresses, everything, you name it, household items, they're all going up, baby. Oh yeah, and keep in mind, the tariff for China, it's not the 10%. The Chinese tariffs are 25%. I know this because I paid the tariffs. I've been paying it for years. When we get our product shipped directly from the manufacturers from China to the US, we pass that along to the consumers. But Donald Trump added an extra 10%. So the tariffs are actually 35%.
Oh, we got to talk about Canada. The fact that, they are ready with these tariffs, which is hilarious considering I feel like the United States government could never move as quickly. But the fact that they have a detailed strategy on how to retaliate and react to the Trump tariff plan, we have to keep in mind, like, so much of our building materials, power, energy, like, so much comes from Canada. We import something like $430 billion worth of products from Canada alone. And it's energy, manufacturing, a lot of vehicles, car parts and stuff like that, meat, agriculture, all of that comes from them. The absolute cherry on the fucking top of this cake is the fact that Canada specifically is going to target red states. Yes, thank you, Canada, because they deserve it. You vote for a jerk, you fuck around and you find out. Obsessed with this idea that they've figured out this very intense, detailed strategy to specifically target people that they know put him there. So now, all you lucky folks in a blue state that voted for him, y'all better thank yourselves for being in a Democratic state. But red states, ooh, things are about to get so tough for you. So tough.
Today is February 1st, and I just want to take this time out to wish everybody a happy tariff day from the United States to you. We have some guests that'll be celebrating with us. Mexico, Canada, China. Happy to have you here. We've had a long-lasting relationship. You know, we've had our ups and downs, but I think it's time now more than ever to really restore some order. Now, this is one of those holidays where it's not just a one-day thing. We're going to be celebrating for quite some time. Just because we're celebrating, I understand it's not perfect. A few things, if not all, could happen. One, you know, Americans, our price of goods could go up depending upon which industries and what goods are produced elsewhere. You know, our prices could go up. We could be affected negatively by this. Two, the government can make a lot more money, decreasing our deficit, which would relinquish our responsibility to other countries. The fact that we won't owe them either any money at all or as much money as we do. It's a possibility. Three, it could lead to Americans focusing more on American-produced products. I know it could take some time. That's a possibility as well. And there could be several other effects that I'm not mentioning. So I ask, how will you be celebrating this holiday? Happy Tariff Day.
So, the president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum. So she said she's going to hit the United States with some retaliatory tariffs and implement Plan B. What that is, I have no idea. But she is not going to play with Trump. He has actually started a trade war with Mexico. Like I said, prepare. Get what you need because it's about to get real expensive. I paid $30 for eggs, y'all. Look, I gotta have eggs from birds that roam free in the fields. Okay, that's what I do. That's how I eat. But y'all might want to stock up on some shelf stable food so you can stretch your dollar. I mean, I'm just saying, the drama continues. Claudia Sheinbaum was like, you know what, Trump? Bet I got you. I'm gonna slap some tariffs too. I can do the same shit you can. And you know what? The people who are gonna hurt is us. I mean, like I said, observe, plan, and prepare. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know.
President Trump officially imposed 25% tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico, as well as 10% on Chinese goods over the weekend. The market today is reacting awfully because of it. As you can see, everything's in the red. Economists have predicted that tariffs will cause inflation and lower GDP growth, but why do tariffs cause inflation and should we be worried? If a toy costs $10 and Walmart imports it from, say, Canada, Walmart will now have to pay an extra $2.50 to US customs, thus probably passing on that cost likely to customers. A tariff then would incentivize the US-based supplier like Walmart to seek out American-made toys instead of Canadian ones. This will also hurt Canada and Mexico's economy way more than it hurts the United States because currently nearly 80% of both Canada and Mexico's exports go to the United States. On the US side, about 16% of US exports go to Canada and Mexico respectively. I think this is just a negotiation tactic by Trump because Canada and Mexico won't be able to sustain this for a long period of time. Both of their economies are more reliant on the US than the US is reliant on them. Now, will the real impact of these tariffs last? Well, I definitely could see GDP being affected as well as inflation. However, I do think that Trump knew all of these things going into it. If you're investing for the long term, such as your retirement, I don't think you need to do anything. Don't abandon your investing plans. However, if you are invested for the short term, such as the next few months, I don't think these tariff issues will be solved until at least the end of Q1. What do you think? Let me know in the comments.
Alright, Trump's trade war with Canada, Mexico, and China is escalating fast and it's already sending shockwaves through global markets. The US imposed tariffs on key imports, Canada and Mexico retaliated, and China is preparing its next move. But what does this all really mean? Let's break it down. Trump has argued that tariffs are necessary to protect America's industries, particularly manufacturing and agriculture. His administration claims that other countries, especially China, has been taking advantage of the US through unfair trade practices like currency manipulation and dumping cheap goods into the market. By imposing tariffs, Trump believes he's forcing these countries to the negotiation table. But the reality is, these moves often trigger retaliation, and this is exactly what is happening. Canada's response has been swift and calculated. Through the announced counter tariffs targeting industries that hit Trump's voters base the hardest, agriculture, steel, and manufacturing. Some of the biggest targets are US dairy products. Wisconsin, a key Trump state, is a major dairy producer. Automobile parts affecting Michigan and other Midwest states. Whiskey and consumer goods, which could make prices rise in stores. Canada isn't just retaliating, they are making it personal. The goal is to pressure Trump's political stronghold into pushing back against his trade policy, and his working farmers, manufacturers, and small business owners are already feeling the squeeze. Mexico's tariffs hit the US where it hurts agriculture. American farmers rely heavily on export to Mexico, and with a 25% tariff on corn, soybeans, and processed foods, prices could rise both in the US and abroad. American corn exports alone are worth billions, and without the Mexican market, farmers in states like Iowa, Nebraska, and Texas will struggle. Some experts predict farm bankruptcy could surge if these tariffs remain in place for too long. Mexico also slapped tariffs on industry goods and machinery, meaning US manufacturers will face high costs. This could lead to job cuts, factory closure, and overall economic slowdowns. China has been more measured, but their response could be devastating. Unlike Canada and Mexico, China holds a major leverage point: US debt and technology. Here is what they are already done or are considering: tariffs on US electronics and cars, potential restrictions on US tech companies operating in China, redirecting trade deals to Europe and other Asian nations. The bigger danger: if China stops buying US debt, it could send shockwaves through the stock market and financial system. A major sell-off of US Treasury bonds would make borrowing more expensive, increasing inflation and interest rates. While Trump and his supporters argue that tariffs will protect American jobs, the reality is much more complex. Let's talk about who actually gets hurt by this. Number 1, farmers. Losing access to foreign market means lower demand for crops. That means lower prices for farmers and possible bankruptcy. 2, manufacturers. Higher tariffs on raw materials makes production more expensive. This could mean job losses or companies moving production elsewhere. 3, consumers. Retail prices on everyday goods will likely increase as businesses pass higher costs onto customers. That means more expensive groceries, electronics, and cars. 4, investors. The stock market reacts poorly to uncertainty, and a prolonged trade war could cause massive volatility and economic instability. Reactions have been mixed. Trump supporters argue that the US is finally standing up to unfair trade, while critics warn that everyday Americans will bear the cost. A Canadian Twitter user summed it up perfectly: "Dear American friends, enjoy those tariffs. We are going to feel it at the grocery stores real soon." Meanwhile, farmers who voted for Trump are expressing frustration. One lower farmer posted, "I thought he was going to help us. Now he's putting us out of business." On the business side, CEOs and economists are warning of a possible recession if this trade war continues. Wall Street analysts have already downgraded growth projections, citing the impact of tariffs on industries like auto manufacturing and tech. The next few months will be critical. The big question is, will Trump negotiate or will he double down? Possible scenarios: negotiation lead to a new trade deal. The best case scenario is that these tariffs are a negotiation tactic and deals are made before major economic damage occurs. Tariff war escalates if no deals are reached, tariffs could expand and the economy could take a serious hit. Political backlash forces Trump to back down. If businesses and workers suffer enough, political pressures could push Trump to reverse course. This trade war is just getting started and the effect will be felt for months, if not years. Whether you support Trump or not, one thing is clear: this will impact the global economy. The key question is, will the US come out stronger or will it end up hurting the very industry Trump claimed he was trying to protect? Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think these tariffs will work in American favor or are they a disaster waiting to happen? Thank you for watching and let's continue the conversation in the comments below. Let us share our thoughts and perspective with one another. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated on this story and more. I will see you in the next video.